Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful day today in Southern California. How is Vegas?
It's actually 80 degrees, so my warm spot, happy place. Perfect weather time.
Yeah, it's getting hotter though, and we're enjoying the weather and planning for springs. And I try to visit this flower field in Carlsbad. I saw my friend went there, and I wanted to go there because the flower fields are so beautiful. So it's, you have family members that wanted to take, a day trip. That would be a perfect opportunity to spend time with your families.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's time to get outdoors and enjoy all of those things. A few people say that they have reactions to allergies and all of those things. But before we forget, welcome to Wealth Doctors. We're here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, and with me is Dr. Andrea Le. We are here today. We're going to talk about retirement, answering all kinds of questions about your retirement planning. What a great topic.
It is. This past few weeks, I get, quite a lot of, questions regarding the retirement topics. I mean, that's what I specialize in too, but so many people are asking, question relating the Social Security benefits, long-term cares, and will you have enough money for retirement? So those are the questions that we will diving in today and give you more information on what to plan for in the next half hour.
Yes, no, it's I was sharing that, I'm doing my courses for my continuing education, and just sometimes there's amazing statistics that jump out. And one of the statistics that has really just been validating a lot of things that not only we've been discussing, but just understanding the spaces that we occupy, especially around wellness and all of those things. And so it by 2030, they say that 76 million boomers will turn 65. And at that point, 2030, mind you, that's just, we're in 2024.
Yeah.
At that point, the cost of 76 million boomers on at 65 on Medicaid will exceed the federal revenues in terms of the cost to cover them medically. So, what I have been saying and what I have been seeing are not only governments and organizations really evaluating things like long term care, things like lifestyle adjustments so that people are not as dependent on systems where you're utilizing, as doctor, pharmacy, a lot of the prescription drugs and things of that nature, because those things are expensive. And
Yeah.
as we see every I feel like if you watch regular TV every day, there's a new drug, advertised about something, and they're expensive, and so it's like we have to really think about this. And so it seems that this is one of those areas that come up often. Will I have enough money? Because if I am even healthy, right, will I have enough resources to cover a longer life?
And the inflation rate too. So when you're planning for all these retirement plannings and medical expenses and long-term cares, take into consideration of the inflation and plan far in advance, because 10 years, 20 years from now, 10,000, maybe you need at least 20,000 or more to cover that same expense need. The cost of healthcare are rising,
Mhm.
and Social Security benefits may not be enough for you, right? So a lot of questions, a lot of people are having asking question. The most common one is, when should I begin my Social Security benefit?
Mm.
That is, a lot of people ask, when is the best time to do it? When is the best age to start receiving retirement benefits? And there is not a right or wrong answer here, because it really depends on your situation, and your best age is depends on, really is your choice. And we have to sit down and find out in your specific situation when is the best time to take it out, to start your benefit, because you can start young early at age 62 or at age 70. Now, when you start young, then the benefit, when you access early as a lifetime income there, the benefit may be reduced by 30%.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's say if your full retirement age is at 67, you receive $1,000. Now at 62, you may just receive about $700.
Wow.
And it's permanent reduction. It's not going to be adjusted later on. And if you delay that retirement age up to 70, you may have, instead of 1,000, it could be 1,250. So the retirement benefit can be increased as you delay your retirement benefit. But now, when is the best time to access that? Is really, you need to sit down and look at your personal incomes, look at the source of provisional incomes and other savings that you have, 401k, pension, IRA, and other investment accounts that you have. And maybe, we can find out what's the best time to take it out. If you don't need to access it early, you can delay it to have more later on. But if you do need to access it early, it will be reduced permanently.
Wow. So that's an important, thing to consider when it's like having a bunch of puzzle pieces, right? And trying to figure out how to put together the best solution based on your particular situation. And so I think that planning early is really where the advantage is realized, is spending more time in considering, yes, what if I do live another 30 years beyond the time that I planned? What am I going to do? A lot of people say, well, I'm going to retire. And it's interesting because to me, I've had the conversation where I said, well, if you own a business, um, do you really retire, or do you create a succession plan, right? So that business can sustain and you just move into a different role. And so I said that, that's the beauty of long-term planning, is preparing for succession in terms of leadership in the organization, but more importantly, what are the things that you're going to do to keep yourself active? I was at an event last night with a group of trauma surgeons that are having a conference here in Las Vegas. And so we are just kind of talking about, that career path and just all of the changes and, just the emergency room impacts and but the importance of just even that, when you've done what it is you've loved for a particular career and you transition into something else. One of the surgeons said, I wouldn't retire. I just want to go and do some other exciting things, in life to stay busy. I want to keep my mind active. I want to do things. And I said, exactly. So what does retirement mean to you? What is the lifestyle that you want to continue to enjoy and maintain?
Right. We live longer and longer. 1 in 3 person at age 65 live up to 90 or 95 years old. So retirement may be longer than you think, during the retirement years. So be sure to plan for a long time, because a lot of people, are asking, when I asked them, when would you like to retire? And I said, now. Now, okay, well, that is a good answer, but it's not always the realistic answer, because if you had a plan 10, 20 years ago, you can surely say now. But if you haven't started it, then it will take you 10, 20 years in order to build up that nest egg for the retirement. So at age 65, plan for at least 30 years. 95. So that's 30 years of retirement, that making sure you have enough fund to last you that long. And also the income in event of medical illness.
Right.
Long-term care is the biggest
Yes.
portion of it, right? And with the Social Security benefit, it's not enough.
Oh no, exactly. So it's really it's and the thing is that it wasn't planned to be enough. You know,
No,
that part is the reality, is that when we look at the demographics between, birth rates, and we factor in just population growth, where careers took centerfold. So, a lot of women didn't have necessarily as many children as before. And so, when we look at those shifts in the demographics and the population, then that's how, Social Security was meant to have a certain amount of workers who were working and contributing to the system, so that then as others retired, then they would be able to have access to benefits. But if the boomer generation is the generation that is retiring, and they're the larger portion of a population, the generation behind them is smaller. So, and then also just the dynamics of how many organizations shifted from having pension plans, from, long term. Boomers were, in my assessment, part of that last real generation that had, 30 years in one job kind of thing. There are some of those around here and there, but for most people, they end up having a career that's split between a number of jobs, opportunities, businesses and things of that nature. So it's not like you're just working one place and steadily earning and contributing to your retirement. So you want to just be aware of those things and make sure that you're planning, because compounding interest can be your friend, but it's only your friend when you have a longer window, a 20
right.
year, a 30-year window of opportunity, so that your money has a chance to respond to market. There are bull and bear markets, right? And so the part of your money that's tied to stocks or mutual funds and things of that nature, you're going to see just times where those markets reset. And then also remembering inflation. And don't forget the word taxes, because just as I mentioned earlier about this 76 million boomers by 2030 that turn 65, and the medical costs are projected to exceed the federal. So then that means that what will the government utilize to fill that gap? Hmm. Possibly taxes, right?
Right.
We have to tax the people to cover the budget, the budget shortfalls. So
Right.
when we think about that, we don't know what our tax rates will be, in the future. And so the best thing that you can do is try to plan, not only for how you're allocating your resources today, but more importantly, how you're planning for when you have access to your resources later in life.
Right. I mean, you have to think of time horizon, because at age 65, or it's when you start retirement at age 60, even when you consider, stop working or continue working or just doing part-time. Now, at that point, you may accumulate, you should have at least 10 times of your annual income, 10 or 12 times of annual income. So let's say you make 100,000 a year. By that time, you should have at least in your retirement saving 1 million or 1.2 million. And now your 401k at that point could, accumulate over a few 100,000 or 1 million. Some people at that point at age 65, 70, they may have $1 million in their 401k. Now, to access that 401k and require minimum distributions at the required age 73, now you have to take all of that in consideration. If your money is in the market, in the stock market, how do you protect to make sure your principal is not lost? And if you take a hit like in 2008, when it drops tremendously, you know, a portion of that, a big chunk of it, 30% could have been lost, and it would take you years to recover. So diversify it out, find the vehicles that generate you or compounding interest and also protect your principal, and also have access lifetime income There are companies out there that you can, plans out there that you can put in your money and guarantee lifetime income. They have riders for that. They have plan that protect your principal, and even the market drops all the way, your money is still protected 100%. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
right. I mean, it's they just you just have to look out for different informations, right? There are available plans that we didn't think of or we didn't know that is available. But these are the plan that you can discuss with your financial professionals and have them take a look at review your specific uh, goals and needs and your current financial outlook, and reassess and make sure you have the best possible plan available for you. And also,
Mhm.
oh, I was
No,
going to say at age 65, at age
Mhm.
65, a lot of people have, you can sign up your Medicare at age 65. So it's important that you start that at least 3 months before you reach as age 65 to do that. You can delay it a little bit longer, but you may have to pay for enrollment penalties. So just something that you may want to consider and look into it.
Well, it's interesting, and I'll respond. We have hey, shout out to Jeremy and Catherine Murray, both shared comments. Thank you. But Jeremy has two questions. One, he said, what are the best yields? And then the yield vehicles. Where are some great places to put your money to get a greater return? Which that's something that we love talking about. And we think that it is about having a diversified plan, but also utilizing tools like insurance. But not all insurance plans are the same. And so the yield is basically what creates yield, what creates a return are several factors. So typically, if you're thinking about where you're earning interest on your money, you're earning interest for the use of your money. That means that if you were traditionally putting your money in a bank uses your money, your deposits, and makes loans, and they charge interest on those loans to the borrowers. A portion of that interest that the bank is charging for the loans that they are making, they reward you for having money on deposit in like a CD, and they will give you a percentage of interest. But as you notice, the Federal Reserve has been dealing with keeping interest rates low as a way to stimulate the economy, the US economy. What happens is when the interest rates are kept low, then that means the interest that you earn on your money in the bank is low. What a lot of people don't realize is the banks put their money mostly in insurance vehicles, and that's how they make money. So you have to look at how you too can benefit by putting your money into those various vehicles. And they have different indexes or dependent upon the type of plan. That's why you really need to speak with a financial advisor or a person, because you want to look at your unique situation. And so typically the products that provide you with the greatest yield, the highest amount of return, are products that are considered having a greater risk, because that's really what determines the interest rate. It's kind of a risk and reward type assessment. So when you are making an investment, I look at this oftentimes as real estate developer. If I'm making an investment in an area that, say, is going through gentrification, the area has been depressed, or the buildings are old, aged, and a lot of people have moved out of those buildings away. So think of downtown Los Angeles. That was not a downtown for many years, right? But people began to realize that LA needed to redevelop downtown. And so the incentives for those developers that would come in early when there was still crime, there was still a lot of, homelessness, there was still a lot of infrastructure needs, they were rewarded with a greater return on those investments. but it's because it was a riskier proposition.
Investments.
So yes, when you think about it, you have to be aware that yes, if you want a greater yield, that means that you're making a higher risk investment. So you don't want all of your assets just in the higher risk because it's a higher risk, because
Right.
it could go wrong. So you could wipe out, or you could reduce, your principal. But that's the thing that we love about some of the insurance tools, because there's tools that allow you to be able to hedge against an upside, but there's a floor on your downside. And so again, this is why you want to have some diversification. There's safety items that pay a low return, but
But
also
consistent.
fixed and
Right.
consistent
Mhm.
and low return. And sometimes you have to make sure that you don't have all of your eggs in that basket
In one
either,
basket.
because if it's not keeping up with inflation, then unfortunately you're losing value every day. That's what I tell people that mistakenly hold large sums of capital in a bank account. It's like, that's horrible. Your money is literally going down in
Losing
value
value.
day
Mhm.
that it's sitting in that bank account, because you're not getting enough interest rate to even keep up with inflation. So you do better deploying that capital in some other ways, to potentially get at least a return. You have to at least meet inflation. I mean, otherwise your money is just going up in smoke.
Right. I mean, it's to consider a balance of having different vehicles within your portfolio, your retirement portfolio, your IRA, your pension, your 401k, your savings, your stock investments, your life insurance. That's also a big part of planning that should be incorporated into your long-term goal, because it helps, not only it helps to protect your money, it helps to grow your money to beat the inflation. And in the event of market downturns, your money is protected. And there are vehicles out there that, that protect your principal, your hard-earned money. Over the years of 10, 20, 30 years that you accumulate wealth for yourself. And, just in a blink of an eye, if you put all of that money in the stock market, that could, drop 50%. And when it drops 50%, you know how long it would take to gain it back? It would, they would say, for to make it to break even, you would need to gain 100% the following year to
Mhm.
break even. So, you lose 50%, let's say 100,000, you lose 50,000, you only have 50 left. Now, the following year, you have to gain 100% of 50 to break even from the previous amount that you started out with. So consider also redirecting your taxable money, a taxable bucket into non-taxable. So we don't know what the tax rate going to be later on, right? Right now, the highest is at 37%. So basically, tax is really on sales right now.
Yeah.
Right, it's the lowest. When the 401k was started in 1978, at that point, the tax bracket was at 70%. So it's quite high, and it makes total sense to defer your money, defer your 401k, and let it grow over time. But now, at this point in time in 2024, your tax bracket is at 37%. So, consider where to put your money in, that you can maximize that earning and distribution tax free. And there are, different options, different alternatives, options out there that you can consider. Talk to your, financial planning, and they can provide you that information. And consider the future tax rate too, with the U.S. economy are heading, and we are accumulating debts, right? The debt ceilings is so high right now. So is to ensure you have money to last you for a whole lifetime, put into a vehicle, or diversify it out, so you have a balance of each portion of it in different basket. So if anything that hit one basket, all your eggs are not broken.
Exactly. Isn't that the truth? But even, when we talk about estate planning and succession planning, this is why it's so important to also consider that. We see wealthy families using tools like, again, insurance to help mitigate their expected tax liability, because again, when they pass on the transfer of generational wealth to their heirs, they want to do so in a way that those heirs are not losing a lot of the principal value. So oftentimes part of the structure will be to have a policy that is aimed to cover the cost of, the taxes, that the inheritance tax and all of those different things. And again, this is why it's so important to really spend some time kind of planning. I was referencing to someone the other day, Dr. Stephen Covey's books, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and how, kind of when you're thinking about your journey, you begin with the end in mind. And I think that that's true with all of these things. Begin with the end in mind. What kind of legacy are you looking to leave behind? How would you like your family and heirs to be benefited by, your life's work, your life's existence, right? What are those contributions? And so you can plan for those things by doing just that, speaking with competent professionals. And sometimes I think, though, Andrea, what I see is sometimes people feel uncomfortable because they don't even know what they don't know. So they feel like, well, who can I ask? And that's really why we started this program, is because we realized that a lot of times people have basic questions and they're just not sure where to go or who to ask. Well, here it is. We've
Don't be
created
shy.
an opportunity. Yes,
Send
send us
us a
an email.
message.
Ask us. We will we will give you an answer. I mean, that's really what this is about, because what we see is, again, along our own journey. What I often tell people is that I'm so grateful that my grandmother, knew something about insurance, so my whole journey here was about a woman understanding the tool of insurance and what that really was around a wealth creation and, business support and other tools. When I learned about the J.C. Penney's, the Disney's, all of these founders of these early companies that, have become legacy organizations, right? But at their time of need during economic setbacks, they were able to utilize their insurance as a vehicle and a tool. And so I just find that people are underinsured. They don't understand the value of the tool. And sadly, because a lot of times people don't want to discuss, death. Listen, we have a few things that we know are consistent. If we're living, we're going to eventually transition from this existence, this physical existence at some point, and we're going to pay taxes. So
Right.
those two things being said, we can't just put our heads in the sand, because sadly it does create a lot of disruption and dysfunction emerges in families when they are, struggling to not only manage their emotional reactions to losing loved ones, but then it's about the family business and their assets and estates and all of those things as well. So definitely, the sooner you plan, the sooner you ask your questions, the sooner you really think about, holistically, not only where you are along the journey, just Nike says, just do it, right? Just do it. Just look and find information, and, don't be afraid to ask the questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. No
Yeah,
such.
right. I mean, send us a message. If you're not sure where to start, send us a message. Tell us about yourself, where you are at this point. What would you like to accomplish? You don't have to ask a question if you don't have a question. If you want to share something, financial related, send us a message too, and we would love to hear from you. And if there's any other question, even simple question that you think is too simple, but other your question can be benefit for other people as well, because if we don't ask questions, then nobody knows what the answer will be. And for a financial process, it's a long-term process, and it takes it take improvement, little bit improvement every day to fine tune that financial instrument that you have, or change or update, to make sure you have a better vehicles in your investment portfolio. So, let us know. Let us know anything that we can help us. Let us know, and we can grow together with this financial journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it always happens, Andrea. It's like, this 30-minute conversation. Before we know it, we begin, and then we're up
It
at
ends.
the top of the hour. So it's always been a wonderful conversation. I think that, we're just touching on the threshold. Again, there's plenty of topics. We can go deeper in some of these conversations. If there are specific topics that you'd like to learn more about, send us an email about those topics as well, because again, there's a lot of information available. And I, again, am a fan of tools that we can utilize to really help us facilitate generational wealth building, because I think that's so important. Let's allow our heirs to begin with the knowledge that we've gained, so that we can change their station in life. I started educating my son when he was little, that mom's not just working to leave you a big inheritance. This is for my great great greats, right? So you will have a portion, but you won't have it all. I have to put in place some vehicles to make sure that generationally, there is an inheritance that's being left. And it's amazing, because just by having that conversation when he was a young person, as a young adult, he bought into that idea. And so he sees it as his contribution is also part of furthering, that intention. And that's really what we want to do, is we want to educate our children so that they can continue that legacy forward to educate their children, and so on and so forth. So again, Andrea, this was a great topic, and I look forward to next week and seeing what we're going to discuss next week.
You know what? We didn't have time to discuss the rest of the couple more questions that we had prepared. So for our next episode, we'll continue with this conversation next week.
Perfect.
Again, thank you for joining us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Please reach out to us, or send us an email at info@wealthdoctors.us if you have any question. Have the most wonderful day.
All right. Take care, people. See you next time.